It's looking more likely that Eddie Jackson will not be back next year. Let's talk about some replacements next on the Unbearable Sports Podcast.
We're going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner. I got to go bold, right? I got to go bold for this.
Yeah, she's got some nice.
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron. Make sure to like and subscribe out there and rate the show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast. Also, fun fact, only 10% of you are actually subscribed while watching this. So to the other 90% of you, make sure to hit subscribe so you can catch up on all the Bears news that we break down on this show. And the big news that was happening this week, Eddie Jackson took to social media and posted new beginnings with a cross on it, and on X, and then over on Instagram, posted all love Chi-Town, deuces, heart, cross on it. It really does look, and it got Bears Twitter and Bears social media all in a frenzy saying, okay, it looks like he's going to be gone. And if you follow the show, this isn't super surprising. And obviously nothing official has happened. It's just speculation and it's social media pieces like that. But I wanted to break down just if the Bears move on, who are some of these replacements? Going through the free agents and then also going through people that the Bears could potentially draft. Now, first off, like we said, the rumors are out there because you see what's going on, but it's not just rumors. It's also financial sense. When you look at when we did our mock off seasons, the Eddie Jackson cut, you would save $12.5 million. That's a lot of money. Really, the only way that I could see them bringing back Eddie Jackson is if you did a gigantic, not a restructure, but literally like a new contract. Cut him, sign a new one. And that's always difficult to ask of a veteran player. So you would really see a large, like, I think that overall opinion just probably is not going to happen. And that's why a cut is the most likely scenario. So it's not necessarily surprising. It's just kind of surprising that he posted it now rather than later when it's closer or when it's actually at the end of the year-end season. So Bojack, always one of my favorite players to watch. It's going to be sad if he's not out there. And I know that he got a lot of hate for his tackles, but to me, I always liked his ball hawk ability. And yeah, it does look just with the new social media pieces that he's officially not, or he's not going to be a Chicago Bear, not officially yet. But let's talk about some potential replacements and break that down, shall we? So I kind of chunked it up into 3 different sections. Whenever we break down free agents, and if you're new to the show, this is what I always do. Who are the kind of high-priced free agents? Who are the mid-tier? And just from a cost perspective, not playability, but just that middle range of cost. And then who are the bargain bins? And also, I want to kind of call out, too, that Brad Biggs brought this up, that he does not expect that the Bears are going to be spending a lot of money on high-priced free agents. And what that kind of shows, too, is maybe they're looking at a Jalen Johnson to re-sign. Maybe they're looking at Tevin Jenkins to kind of give him a contract up front so that now you're paying these players and now they're on the payroll for this year. So let's talk about, though, some of the top tier, right? Some of the best safeties, best free agent safeties that are out there. And there's really kind of 4 of this upper echelon when you're talking about price. So these are projected to be making over $10 million a year. And when you look at this, 3 of the 4 are projected to also be franchise tagged. So the top tier, Antoine Winfield Jr., safety out of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, clearly one of the best safeties in the league, and he's versatile. I think that he makes a lot of his money in the slot or in more of that box safety role. But the thing that made me fall in love with him in the draft process was just his range. But then also Kyle Duggar, projected to get tagged from the New England Patriots. This guy wouldn't even be a fit, in my opinion, for the Bears because he's more of that linebacker role that the Patriots like to run with their defense. So I don't think that Kyle Duggar is going to move anywhere, and I don't really think he would be what the Bears are looking at safety. Next guy, Cam Curl out of Washington Commanders, yet again projected to get tagged this year. And Cam Curl is one of the most underrated safeties out there, just a very solid upper echelon type of safety that could fit for the Bears if he ends up not getting tagged. And the last one, this guy's not projected to get tagged just because all the different free agents that the Giants have. Xavier McKinney, he's projected 3 years, $12.5 million a year. Now, if you're watching out there on YouTube, let me know down in the comments, do you want them to go after a high-price safety? Because to me, Xavier McKinney's good, and he's a do-it-all safety. I think PFF had him in the top 10 for both a box safety and a free safety, so very, very talented. I just don't love the idea of spending top-tier money on a safety when you'll see later on that there's a lot of good mid-tier safeties and, quote-unquote bargain bins. That's just what I call them. The bargain bin safeties that can give you starter-level play and good play. I just don't think that Xavier McKinney is this top-tier safety that's out there, kind of like how Jesse Bates was last year. I don't think he's to that level of Jesse Bates. I do think, though, that he is a good safety. So let's go and look at some of these mid-tier options. So the mid-tier options, I kind of have it in this, 10 million down to 5 million as kind of the grouping. And to me, this is really where I could see the Bears looking to get someone, because there's a lot of good talent at this kind of mid-tier, quote-unquote, price point. And I think this is why I'm not a big fan of going after an Xavier McKinney, because you can get a good starter in this kind of mid-price point. So first off, Geno Stone, safety, 2 years, $6.5 million projected. Also, as always, my projected cap numbers come from the man, Brad Spielberger, because he's like the biggest cap expert that's out there. So $6.5 million projected a year for Geno Stone. And Geno Stone from the Baltimore Ravens, he could be a good addition for the Bears. The big negative to his game, because he's a good coverage safety, really had one true year as a starter, looked pretty darn good, but a 19% missed tackle rate. That is terrible. That is really, really bad. So when people complain about, even though that his name, Geno Stone, sounds like this guy would be the greatest tackler of all time, he's not. He struggles from a tackle perspective even more so than an Eddie Jackson. But if we continue going down, I'm actually going to jump to Jordan Whitehead. Jordan Whitehead is actually a very, very good safety for the price, especially. Good safety. He's not going to be the best safety in the league, but by any means, but he's a very, very sound safety. 2 years, $6 million a year is the projected number. Good safety, good price, and also over the last 4 years, 11 interceptions in the last 4 years. Very good, solid production. Yet again, not going to be a top tier person because you're kind of shopping in this middle range, but someone who is going to give you good starting play at the NFL level. Also, he can play in the box. He can play deep. So he's a very flexible safety. The other person that I kind of jumped over, Julian Blackmon. We've talked about him in the mock-off seasons. It just makes sense. Former Colts safety, and he's projected 2 years, $5.75 million a year. Very reasonable price to get a starter on your defense. Now, something that is interesting, when he played with Matt Eberflus, he played at the deep level of the field and had his best production with Matt Eberflus. But then after Flus left, he started to play closer to the line, started to play more in the slot and more in the box safety role. And when you look at these safeties, it feels like Brisker's going to be more of that box safety. And we do play a lot of cover too, right? We do play a lot of deep coverages. So I think that what I'm looking out of these guys is, do they play that deep portion of the field? And I think Julian Blackmon, you kind of need to ask the question, is he truly more of a deep safety like what Flus was using him as, or is he better as a slot? My personal take, I think he's better as a deep safety, and that's why I think that it would be a good logical piece just to kind of bring him in, and for $5.75 million, not a bad deal, especially since you're saving over $12 million by cutting Eddie Jackson. Now the last two, these guys are up and down. CJ Gardner-Johnson, he's projected 1 year, $5.33 million, and he's the guy that is constantly talking trash. And I want to bring him up because when he was, over the past 2 years, he's been playing a lot more free safety. But before that, he was playing a lot of slot. He was playing more closer to the box, but now he plays deeper. So he is interesting to bring in, but he had a season-ending injury early on when he was with the Lions. That's why he's projected to only get a 1 year deal, because you can kind of test him out. Overall, I don't think he would be a good fit with the Bears, especially since I see him more as a slot player and more of that box person, not necessarily the deep safety. So that's why, to me, CJ Gardner-Johnson, I'm a little bit more iffy on. And the last one, Darnell Savage, 2 years, $5 million average. And, we know him from the Green Bay Packers. And I got to say this, he's a very up and down player. In his first 2 years, had 7 interceptions. And then last year, 0. Darnell Savage, very up and down. And I think that the Bears, I wouldn't mind the signing if they think they can get the good out of Darnell Savage. That's the biggest thing with Savage, is he's trying to make big plays. And because he tries to make big plays, very up and down seasons. And over the last 2 seasons with Joe Barry, it's been very down more than anything else. But let me know, is there anybody out of those groups that really stands out to you at the safety position? But now, let's go bargain bin shopping, because are the Bears going to do this? And to be fair, there's a lot of good, quote-unquote, bargain bin safeties that are going to be out there. I'm going to start with one of my favorites, Jordan Fuller. He's the safety from the I was going to say St. Louis Rams, the Los Angeles Rams. 2 years, $4.63 million average. So the bargain bins, I'm projecting it as less than $5 million a year. And for that, to get Jordan Fuller, who's gotten 7 interceptions in the last 3 years, still a very young safety, and also more of that true free safety that we want out of a Eddie Jackson replacement. I think he's a very good fit. Young, cheap, good player that gives you good production. To me, I think that would be a match made in heaven. I would be jumping for joy because it's a good price for a good player. Now, continuing on that, Jordan Elliott, someone who had 3 interceptions throughout his career, but still a very, very good player. He doesn't give you the flashy playmaker ability, but he's someone who's going to fit his role, play well, be that free safety that we need, and he's projected to get 1 year, $4 million. Looked very, very good for the Miami Dolphins, but someone who is just kind of getting these random 1-year deals to play kind of everywhere. But then as we continue to go down, we have some of these more bargains. Mike Edwards, very up and down career, and right now he's with the Chiefs. Just okay. I think, to me, there's a substantial drop with talent from Jordan Fuller, DeShon Elliott, than I think Mike Edwards, who's projected to get $3.5 million for a 1-year deal. He's okay, but I kind of want these people that could potentially stay here multiple years. And Alohi Gilman is someone definitely to keep an eye out for from the Chargers. 1 year, 2.67 projected, and he had one of his best seasons. He, as a starter, had one of the best seasons as a safety. I think he was a top 10 safety according to PFF, but just looked like he was in a good role. I could see the Chargers just trying to re-sign him. And the last guy I want to just kind of highlight before we get into the draftables, Jeremy Chin, someone who a lot of us Bears fans wanted to get. Jeremy Chin projected 1 year, $2.5 million. Why is it so cheap? Because he's really fallen off. Injuries have really plagued his career, and in his first season, he kind of burst onto the scene, making a lot of plays, and now Chin just isn't really doing that. I also question if Jeremy Chin would be a scheme fit because, yet again, Jeremy Chin is more of a slot box type of a player with his size and speed. I don't see him as a deep safety type of a person, but someone to at least keep an eye out for. The only other 2 people I just want to kind of highlight really quickly is Chuck Clark, who tore his ACL last year, but Chuck Clark has given just solid production year over year and can kind of play all over the field. Plays more in the box, but can play a handful of deep snaps. And then the other player, I doubt this happens, but with our new defensive coordinator coming over from the Buffalo Bills, Micah Hyde is going to be a free agent. He would fit the defense well, but I don't really see him moving off from the Buffalo Bills. I could just see him staying there and because they're building something special over there, even though we're trying to build something special. But that's the free agents. Like I said, let me know it down in the comments. Is there someone that you really liked out of that group? But let's just go through some of the draftable safeties, because when you look at the safety class, to me, there's no one that's necessarily elite out there. And some of these players, I actually kind of want to move Cole Bishop up to a late day 2 grade, but I don't think that there's like 3 players that I think could be more that plug-and-play safety, but the Bears don't really have any draft picks because it's Tyler Nubin out of Minnesota, Kamren Kinchens out of Miami, and then Kalen Bullock, who they're all projected to go in the second round. Now, we've talked about Kamren Kinchens because he was going to be playing in one of the All-Star games, and very sound, very good player, right? And similar to an Eddie Jackson, very aggressive out there, and he's got great instincts. That's where I think he's a very good deep safety. Yet again, projected to go in the late first, and now it seems like he's kind of dropping to go in the second round. Bears don't have a second round pick, so that's where it can, we might not be able to get someone like a Cam Kinchens. Now, we've already previewed him, but let's talk a little bit about Tyler Nubin. I think that Tyler Nubin, he's my safety 1. Overall, he's safety 2 on the consensus big board. To me, I really like him as a zone safety. His biggest weakness is that in man coverage, he doesn't do a great job at mirroring the person in front of him. Now, that is a slight red flag because what a lot of experts say is they want to look at your man coverage because when you really think about it, zone coverage is about covering the man in front of you. Tyler Nubin, though, just has great instincts, phenomenal ball skills. Like some of his catches that he makes looks like a wide receiver. He's the playmaker that you want on the deep end of the zones. So to me, Tyler Nubin, and hey, reunite with a Terrell Smith. I really like Nubin. He's also 6'2", 210, so he's a very big safety. Just I really enjoy his tape. Always tries to make the big hit and can actually play that deep safety. He's not just a big body that's going to smack you across the middle. He can do it all. So to me, he's the athletic safety that you want, and he can play that deep portion of the field. But yeah, the man coverage skills that I don't know how much we would be asking him to do, that is my biggest question mark for him. And the last guy I just want to talk about, Kalen Bullock, 6'3", 190, and he reminds me of Cam Curl. He is a skinny guy that is just he looks like a creative player. Like if you created yourself and put your actual weight, he's a skinny, tall guy. He looks like me. I'm actually about that, 6'3", 190. So, not exactly, but I'm tall and lanky. That's how this guy looks out there. 61 tackles, 2 interceptions, 7 PBUs, 13.5% missed tackle rate, 15.9% forcing completion rate, and he's just got this crazy length to him. He can jump, he can win these jump balls, but really it's that, as you expect, he needs the meat on the bones because when he tries to make tackles, he tries to lay the lumber, but he really just bounces off of these players. So my biggest question, even though 13.5% missed tackle, that's not great, but it's not terrible. He needs to just add some meat on the bones, wrap up, make the plays, because right now he doesn't wrap up. He just simply lowers the shoulder. But those are kind of the 3 safeties. I think if you draft a Kalen Bullock, I would be nervous about having him as the true starter, but I'm curious to see what the Bears end up doing because maybe you sign a veteran for a 1-year deal and then you draft a Kalen Bullock, a Javon Bullard, someone later on in day 2, or a Cole Bishop. Then you try and develop them as you have a veteran that can kind of go in. But I'll tell you this for a fact. I don't want to go back to the ways that the Bears had it before where we would bring in, after Adrian Amos left, we just started adding in some random safety for a 1-year deal, 1-year deal, 1-year deal. I want us to find the guy and just kind of keep on building because if Eddie Jackson is out, which it seems like he will be, I want to just make sure that this is sound and that everything is all good. But let me know what you think down below in the comments. Who do you want the Bears to get at the safety position? Free agent? Or maybe we go up with drafting someone? Let me know what you want to see. But also, make sure to like and subscribe out there on YouTube and rate the show 5 stars. And with that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair and you know that she's a